Imagine this. You're standing in a narrow alley of ancient Athens at night. Torchlight flickers on the stone walls. A woman's screams echo through the darkness. She's crying out, "A demon spirit has attacked me. It won't let me speak." People rush in. An old philosopher steps forward. His name is Socrates. He holds a small scroll. He speaks calmly, almost hypnotically. This is not a demon. This is the fear inside your own mind, the part of your brain that tells you you are weak, that your enemies are stronger, that you cannot escape your fate. I can free you from this fear, but you must trust me completely. The woman collapses at his feet, sobbing. The crowd watches. Slowly, her screams stop. She looks up, calm, almost peaceful. And in that moment, everyone around her begins to believe. This was not magic. This was not a miracle. This was one of the most powerful psychological weapons ever created in ancient Greece. A weapon made of words, stories, fear, authority, and the hidden machinery of the human mind. This is mind origin, where minds awaken to the truths hidden in history. Subscribe and take your place among the enlightened. Today, we reveal ancient Greek psychological weapons, the techniques they used to control minds, crowds, armies, and entire societies. We're going deep through real historical figures like Homer, Pericles, Thucydides, Aristotle, Plato, Demosthenes, Socrates, Lysias, Epaminondas, Leonidas, and many more who actively used or promoted these techniques. Every example is backed by their writings, speeches, actions, and archaeological evidence, plus modern psychological science. Let's begin the countdown. Number 1. Religious and mythological framing, making obedience feel divine. The strongest chains are the ones you willingly wear because you believe they were forged by the gods. Ancient Greeks didn't just tell stories, they weaponized them. Myths were not entertainment, they were psychological programming. Take Homer, the legendary blind poet, c. 8th century BCE, who authored the Iliad and Odyssey. His method was epic poetry recited at massive public festivals like the Panathenea in Athens, where thousands gathered. Homer wove gods into every human action. In the Iliad, Achilles achieves glory but dies because the gods, like Zeus and Athena, favor certain sides. The Trojans are defeated and enslaved not just by Greek might, but because they offended the gods. Homer's technique personify fate as divine will, making listeners feel that disobeying human leaders who claim godly backing invites godly wrath. This embedded obedience as a sacred duty, reducing resistance in wars and daily life. Hesiod, c. 700 BCE, another epic poet, in his Works and Days, explained the world's hierarchy as Zeus's design. His method, moral fables where gods punish the disobedient, like Prometheus chained for defying Zeus. Hesiod's poems were taught to children, programming young minds to see social order as divine, making future citizens more compliant. Pericles, the Athenian statesman, c. 495 to 429 BCE, mastered this in his funeral oration during the Peloponnesian War, as recorded by Thucydides in History of the Peloponnesian War, Book 2. Pericles' technique framed Athens as divinely chosen, the school of Hellas, blessed by gods like Athena. He urged citizens to sacrifice for the city because it was their sacred duty. By invoking gods in speeches at public funerals, Pericles emotionally tied personal loss to divine purpose, boosting morale and obedience during wartime hardships. This is sacred framing plus authority bias. People obey more when commands come from divine sources, Haidt's moral foundations theory. Questioning the polis is questioning Zeus. Number 2. fear induction and terror management, making people cling to authority. Fear is the oldest and strongest weapon of the mind. Ancient Greeks mastered terror management theory long before modern psychologists named it in 1986. They reminded people of death constantly through myths, tragedies, and public punishments, then offered protection through obedience. Tragedies by Aeschylus, Sophocles, and Euripides were performed at state-sponsored festivals like the Great Dionysia in Athens in front of 15,000 people. Aeschylus in The Persians 472 BCE showed Persian king Xerxes defeated because he hubristically defied the gods by bridging the Hellespont. Aeschylus's method used theater to dramatize divine punishment for overreach, making audiences fear similar fates if they disobeyed leaders. This embedded obedience as a sacred duty, reducing resistance in wars and daily life. Sophocles in Oedipus Rex 429 BCE depicted Oedipus trying to escape a prophesied fate only to fulfill it and destroy his family. Sophocles' technique builds suspense through irony and inevitability. Audiences left theaters terrified of challenging fate or authority, clinging to societal norms for safety. Euripides in The Trojan Women 415 BCE showed enslaved Trojan women lamenting their fate after defying the gods. His method evoked pity and horror to warn against war resistance, especially relevant during the Peloponnesian War. Thucydides recorded the Melian Dialogue 416 BCE. Athenian generals told neutral Melos to surrender or die. When Melians refused, Athens slaughtered the men and enslaved the rest. Thucydides' technique document raw power politics as inevitable, inducing fear that resistance leads to annihilation. Leonidas at Thermopylae 480 BCE, he led 300 Spartans to certain death against Persia. Herodotus in Histories turned it into legend, emphasizing heroic sacrifice. Herodotus's method exaggerate details like fighting in the shade of arrows to inspire fear of defeat and awe for self-sacrifice, making Greeks cling to leaders promising glory. This is terror management theory. Death reminders make people cling to cultural worldviews and leaders. Number 3. Social proof and conformity pressure. Everyone obeys, so you obey. Humans are pack animals. When everyone around you bows, your brain screams, "Bow too," or you're the odd one out. In Athens, ostracism, exile by vote, was a psychological weapon. Aristotle in Politics praised it as a tool to prevent tyranny by exiling anyone too prominent. Aristotle's method? Explain it as democratic balance, but it created fear. Citizens voted secretly on shards, so paranoia of being too different forced conformity. Socrates was executed in 399 BCE by a jury of 501 Athenians because he questioned societal norms through Socratic dialogue. His method, ironically used against him, constant questioning exposed conformity, but the state shamed him as a corrupter of youth, using public trial to enforce obedience. Plato, Socrates' student, in The Republic, argued for censoring poets who promote nonconformist ideas. Plato's technique proposed a utopia where education and myths create uniform citizens using social proof to make deviance unthinkable. Lysias, the famous speechwriter, 445 to 380 BCE, wrote courtroom speeches that shamed opponents. In Against Eratosthenes, 403 BCE, he publicly humiliated a tyrant collaborator, using crowd sentiment to sway juries. Lysias's method? Leverage social proof in assemblies. If the crowd boos, the accused conforms or faces exile. This is social proof, Cialdini, plus Asch conformity experiments. People change beliefs to match the group. Number 4. Rhetorical manipulation and emotional hijacking, controlling through words. Words are weapons. The Greeks invented rhetoric, the art of persuasion, and turned it into mind control. Aristotle wrote Rhetoric, 4th century BCE, teaching 3 modes: ethos, credibility; pathos, emotion; logos, logic. Aristotle's method: emphasize pathos as key, stir fear or anger to bypass reason. He advised speakers to study audience emotions, then exploit them for persuasion. Demosthenes, 384 to 322 BCE, in his Philippics speeches, 351 to 340 BCE, warned Athens about Philip II of Macedonia. Demosthenes' technique: use vivid imagery. Philip is a barbarian wolf at our gates, to evoke fear and urgency. He hijacked emotions in the assembly, convincing Athens to war despite reluctance, leading to defeat at Chaeronea, 338 BCE. Gorgias, the sophist, circa 485 to 380 BCE, in Encomium of Helen, claimed he could make any argument convincing. Gorgias's method: focus on rhythm, metaphor, and emotion. Words are like drugs; they can heal or poison the soul. He taught politicians to manipulate crowds through eloquent speeches. This is emotional hijacking. Goldman: bypass logic, go straight to fear, anger, pride. Number 5. Divide and conquer. Make them fight among themselves. The best way to control a large group: make them fight among themselves. Epaminondas of Thebes, 418 to 362 BCE, defeated Sparta at Leuctra, 371 BCE. Epaminondas's technique: spread propaganda dividing Boeotian allies, portray Spartans as tyrants, Thebans as liberators. He created in-group loyalty among Thebans while sowing distrust in Spartan ranks.
Pericles divided Athenian society. Pure citizens got privileges, like Periclean citizenship law, 451 BCE. Pericles' method: exclude medics, foreign residents, and slaves from rights, making citizens feel superior and loyal to the system.
This is social identity theory, Tigel. Create in-group versus out-group, loyalty to group, hostility to others.
Number 6. Hero myths and role models. Programming desired behavior. Heroes are not born, they are manufactured to shape minds. Homer created Achilles in the Iliad, a warrior who chooses short, glorious life over long, peaceful one. Homer's method: recite epics at festivals, emphasizing godly favor for heroic sacrifice. Young men emulated Achilles, willingly dying in wars. Herodotus, c. 484 to 425 BCE, in Histories immortalized Leonidas at Thermopylae. Herodotus's technique: exaggerate 300 versus millions to inspire awe. Greeks modeled self-sacrifice, fighting Persia. Plato in Republic wanted myths censored to show only obedient heroes. Plato's method: use role models to program virtues like courage and loyalty. This is modeling theory by Bandura. People copy admired figures. Number 7. Public shaming and ostracism, weaponizing reputation. In Greece, reputation was everything. Lose it, lose your life. Aristotle praised ostracism in politics. Aristotle's method: explain it as preventive, exile threats to maintain balance. Fear of ostracism forced self-censorship. Public humiliation. Aristophanes in comedies like Clouds, 423 BCE, shamed Socrates as a fool. Aristophanes' method: use satire in theater to ridicule nonconformists, making the crowd laugh and conform. This is reputation management plus social exclusion pain. Shame hurts like physical pain. Number 8. Oracle and prophecy manipulation, outsourcing decisions to gods. The Oracle of Delphi was a psychological weapon. Themistocles, c. 524 to 459 BCE, twisted Delphi's wooden wall prophecy, 480 BCE, to mean ships, not city walls. Themistocles' method? Interpret ambiguity favorably. Convinced Athens to build a navy, winning Salamis. This is ambiguity effect plus confirmation bias. Vague prophecies let leaders justify anything.
Number 9. Education as indoctrination, shaping minds from childhood. Lycurgus, legendary Spartan lawgiver, c. 820 BCE, created the agoge system. Lycurgus's method: boys taken at 7, starved, beaten, taught blind obedience and theft for survival skills. Result: lifelong loyal soldiers. Plato, in Republic, c. 375 BCE, proposed state-controlled education. Plato's method: teach myths and gymnastics to produce guardians who value state over self. This is social learning plus indoctrination. Shape values early. Number 10. Collective identity fusion, making sacrifice feel personal. Pericles, in Funeral Oration, said Athens is the school of Hellas. Pericles' method: use speeches to fuse personal identity with city pride. Citizens died willingly for democracy. Spartan mothers, as per Plutarch, told sons, come back with shield or on it. Their method: raise children with stories of heroic death, fusing identity with state survival. This is self-concept fusion. Personal identity merges with group. Self-sacrifice becomes natural. These weapons built Greece and still shape the modern world. Which shocked you most? Comment below. Like if your mind is blown. Subscribe to Mind Origin.